Welcome back to Spatial Sense. This is the third part of a 7-part series where I teach you how you can solve a 2x2 Rubik's Cube to train your spatial recognition. If you haven't watched the first two parts, I highly recommend you do so. But if you're here, today I'll be teaching you how you can solve the first layer on your 2x2 cube. So as we talked about before, the 2x2 cube is made of 8 corners. So the first job is to solve the top 4 corners and create a layer. Now, as we said in the previous video, when you mess up a puzzle, this is actually known as scrambling the puzzle. So let's give it a good scramble here. Right. Since we're trying to solve the cube for the first time, we're gonna solve a specific layer. In this case, we're gonna solve white. So this is to make sure that we can do it every single time, and it's a general thing. And as we get better, we can solve this first layer on any color that we want. So how do we solve the first layer? Right, so you see there are actually 4 white pieces. So there's a white here, white, and white. So a layer consists of 4 of them on the same face, but all of them having the same color on the side. So that means that it's solved for the first layer. Now, when you first start out, it might seem a bit impossible to do any of this, but basically what you need to do is we need to find a particular white piece. And then we know that it's white, red, and green. So we know that the piece next to it should have a white and red. And since we know green and blue are opposite colors, it should be a blue. But when you're starting out, when you see a white and red, you can just find the mixed white and red piece. So let's assume that they are separated. So there's a white, red, and green, and there's a white, red, and blue. So how do we get that down here? It's just as simple as moving the layer down. So it should be quite easy to get your first block over here. But what about the rest? How do we get here to here? Right? If we try and move it here, we'll mess up this. Now, how do you solve this? It's more intuitive than learning any algorithms for you at this point. So basically, what happens when you disrupt one layer is you disrupt every other piece in that same face. So let's say I want to move this layer. Every one of these pieces of these 4 corners will be disrupted. So in order to put this piece in this slot, all you have to do is make sure that you have the piece in some other place that isn't these 4 corners. So very simply, if you want to make sure that this piece isn't one of these 4 corners, we move it here, such that this piece is no longer there. And then we can disrupt it. And then here we can see that we can put it back into the place of the 4 corners and can bring it back down. So that's how you solve your first layer. So as you try learning the cube, you'll get closer and closer. So one of the things you can do is just try and solve this first layer without trying to bother about the rest of these colors. So something like this. Again, we want to move this somewhere on the right hand side. So we'll disrupt this layer and we'll move this corner to somewhere that isn't this face. And we'll move it back down. So now we have an empty space here, and to move this corner around, you can see if we wanted it to go here, we could do this. So instead, we could just move this out of these 4 corners, disrupt it, and replace it in. So it might seem a bit difficult at first, and over time you'll get used to it. But yeah, you can try solving the face without solving these colors just to get a hang of getting these corners in place, and eventually you'll start to figure out how to get your first layer quicker and more efficiently. So yeah, that's basically all there is to it. So just keep practicing for maybe 5-10 minutes every day. Eventually you'll have the hang of it because it's all intuitive at the end of the day. And yeah, my name is Alan, this is Spatial Sense. That's all I have for you today, and I hope you check out the next video. Bye bye.